Hi, this is Carl with another SOP video for managed service providers. Today we're going to talk about removing a client from your recurring revenue service. And in particular, this week I'm going to talk about removing a client from managed services, and that's the final chapter in Volume 1 of the Managed Services Operations Manual. Next week, we're going to talk about the strategy of removing a client from cloud services, and that's the final chapter in cloud services in a month. So stay tuned because these are two very different strategies. Okay, so removing a client from managed services is a perfect example of where you want to begin with the end in mind. What does that mean? Well, it means way back when you signed your original contract, you need to have had a couple of things in place and potentially actually draw someone's attention to them and have them initial that they read that paragraph. The first different element about removing somebody from managed services that you need to have in your contract is that once they begin the process of leaving you for whatever reason, maybe they got bought by somebody else, maybe they're going out of business, maybe they just chose another IT service provider. Doesn't matter. Once they give you notice that they are quitting you, all of the work is billable. Period. Most people will tell you that the only time they ever lost any money with any clients was after they gave notice and the client didn't pay that last bill. So this is a huge argument for selling blocks of time so that you've got prepaid for all of that. What we actually do, if you read my service contract, is we bill them for a block of time the minute that somebody gives us notice. The result is that all of that work is billable and paid. And yes, we do give them money back. If it takes, 6 hours and we bill them for 10, we give them their money back. We will not rip anybody off, but we have been ripped off by clients who quit us and don't pay the last bill. So that's critically important. And why do you justify it? Well, that's pretty easy. How do you justify it? You justify it because every single thing that you do to take a client off of managed services is an add move change, or in this case, a remove move change. The second thing is you're going to potentially leave the client in an unsafe situation. And you both need to be super clear about what that means. For example, if they say, hey, you're out of here. Okay, that's cool. You will remove your RMM agents, but you will not, unless you are paid to do so, turn on automatic updates. You will remove your antivirus, but you will not add on something else unless you're paid to do so. Right? It's not that you're being a jerk. It's not that you're being an a-hole. This is business. And they need to know on day one when they sign the contract that this is what's going to happen when you quit us. And the truth is, obviously, you don't want to leave them in an unsafe position. You don't want to leave them without antivirus. You don't want to leave them without Microsoft updates. But making that change is 100% billable. And so they need to know an unmanaged network, even if you put everything as automated as you can, they need to be consciously aware that an unmanaged network is absolutely and definitively less secure than a managed network. So they can quit you, but they better have another IT service provider. And I'll be very honest, I am totally a fan of helping them onboard the new people and making it as seamless as possible and making that a smooth transition. On more than one occasion, I've had somebody come back to me because of the professionalism with which we help them move to another IT service provider. Because it turns out that IT service provider was not very professional. In fact, in one case, somebody took all their documentation, left the office, and never gave them their documentation back. And so when they finally came back to us, it was like starting over. A couple of other minor details, but very important. First of all, you should have a note in your contract that says that your clients cannot hire your employees without paying you a substantial fee, roughly the equivalent of 4 months' salary, as a finder's fee, because now they're using you as an employment agent. So they can't quit you and have one of your employees become their IT manager without paying for that. That's totally cool if they want to pay for it. But again, that's got to be in the contract before you start this engagement. You also need, just for goodwill purposes, to remind the client that you have a non-disclosure agreement and everybody on your staff has a non-disclosure agreement. So no one in your company will tell anybody about anything that goes on in their company. And they need to understand that anything that they know about your company cannot be passed on to the new person who takes over. So that two-way non-disclosure agreement is built into your contract. You sign it on day one, and it becomes most important on the last day that you work for them. A final note on documentation. The right thing to do, in my opinion, is to make sure that when you leave, the client has a complete printout of all the documentation you have of their systems. They paid for the hardware, they paid for the software, they paid for the services. They own it, it's theirs, and they own that documentation. Again, the right thing to do turns out to be something that will make you look like the kind of good company that they want to do business with in the future. I have never left a client without giving them their documentation. I usually do it every year anyway, but you want to make sure at the end that you hand that to them and tell them, do not let another IT service provider take this away and you'll never see it again. Make them a copy if you wish, but this is a secure document and it should be stored with your off-site backups and end of your financial information. Do it right, and clients who leave you might just come back one day. If nothing else, if they're going out of business, they might bring you on to the new company. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Polachek, wishing you the best of luck in your managed service business. Please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you can be notified when we post a new video.